Welcome to Channel AMAC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested in migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on a bell on the side, so once you have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Alright, today's video, we would like to continue the topic of employment sponsored visa, so-called new name, skills and demand, still under the subclass 482 visa. Obviously, a lot of people getting the 482 visa, excited, but that's not the end. The end shall be a dream to actually obtain the permanent residency. So we're going to talk about the TRT stream, where there has been a change to how your employment could actually be accrued. Now, previously, you really required to be working under one employer for continuously 2 or 3 years. So that means if you change the employments, that means everything will be recounted, and which is not really fair and unjust for the employees. So what had the government of Australia done is that they have included this new policy where all these employments working for different employers, as long as you hold a 482 visa, can be all counted together. All right, so let's jump into the actual the migration strategy plan that was called out in early 2024, and that's right up there, if you can see that there, and it says here the period of employment with any approved employer will count towards permanent resident requirements. So that has been updated altogether with this new 482 visa, skills to demand visa. So it's actually very good, and that's why I'm saying that the new employment sponsor visa will be the major skill migration category for Australia, because first of all, the pros is that you not require, obviously you need to find an employer. If you don't have the only cons is that you need to find an employer. Okay, the pros is you don't need to wait for invitation. Now the invitation is a problem because after COVID, as there has been restricted number of quota giving out to all the states and also for the federal government, you just don't know when you gotta. It's not enough. What I'm trying to say, the quota for the skill migration under the skill select system is not enough. Now the problem with not enough is that you don't know when you get invited, and a lot of these candidates in the pool are actually pulling the points up towards 90 points or 100 points, towards a point that it's really impossible for general migration migrants. I mean, if you're talented enough, yes, you're fine, but for the general migrants, it's just too hard. But for general migrants, for employment sponsor, as long as you got job offer, you can get sponsored anytime. You don't need to be invited. Obviously, there has been a processing times are required, but the good thing is that we're going to talk about is that the employment can be accrued. Okay, so we just shown you what the migration strategy plan has actually shown. What I'm going to show you now is actually going into the actual immigration's website under the employment nomination scheme subclass 186, the temporary resident transition stream. Now obviously you can go for a direct entry stream, but direct entry stream we're required to go through the skill assessment and plus 3 years of full-time work experience in order to actually meet that requirement. But TRT stream, as long as you're working in Australia under the 482 visa, you'll be able, and accrue 2 years, you'll be able to transfer into permanent residency here. Now I'm gonna go through this with you, and then we will verify that with the actual piece of legislation there. So it reads here, have 2 years eligible sponsor employment in 3 years prior to your application. So the actual law is actually here. It basically tells you under the 186.2 to starting from 226, I believe. So it's very tiny, but I'm gonna read it out for you. Okay, so it reads that during the period of 3 years immediately before the application has been made. That means once you lodged and counting back towards 3 years. If you lodge on the 2025, the 1st of January, then we are counting back towards the 1st of January 2022. So 3 years period that you have been holding one or more of the following visas. So I don't think anyone actually have holding 457 anymore, but usually you will be holding subclass 482 either it's got to be TSS or the skills demand. That's a new one there. So for at least 2 years, if the last substantive visa held application was made in the paragraph ABC, that's those three kind of visa, and there were bridging visa being granted on the basis of applications mentioned in ABC subclass 186 or 187, so then the bridging visa period of time will actually be counted. Now what does that mean? That means when you hold a visa 482 and you extend another one, now obviously you would never seen a visa being granted on the same day, right? Unless there's ETA or something like that. So there's a period of time that you've been waiting and you're holding a bridging visa. Now during that bridging visa time, as long as your employment occupation is working at the same as what's being nominated and has been approved, then those bridging visa period of time will also be counted. That's basically what it meant. Now 186.227, it says under the subclass 2 of that above 3 years immediately before visa application made, the employment was in relation to which visa mentioned on the above, the 186.226, that's the 482 visa, total of at least 2 years, okay, including not including any period unpaid leave. So unpaid leave cannot be included. And on full-time basis, employment is undertaken in Australia. If the visa mentioned here, that's 482 visa, were granted in relation to occupation specified in instrument made under the subclass 2. Sub-regulation 2.7213 during the period of 3 immediately before application was employed in the occupation for the total period of 2 years, then that will meet. So anyway, that's really, like a wrap. Let's go into the actual web page. It's actually, the explanation now is pretty good and pretty clear. Now it says you have been employed in an eligible sponsor employment. That means it's been approved. Now, just to let you know, the occupation list has been updated. Now it's under the CISO Consolidated Skill Occupation List. There are 456, almost covering every single occupation, but not restaurant manager. Okay, total 2 years of 3 years to the day that you apply the visa. Eligible sponsor employment must be full-time, undertaken in Australia. So can it be working overseas? Well, while you've been paying Australia, can it be working overseas? No, you have to work in Australia. Undertaken while you're holding 457 482 visa or eligible bridging visa. That's exactly what I have explained to you. Undertaken occupation will granted under subclass, so it can be any occupation. But some people are asking, can they be two different occupations? Yes, it doesn't say that it has to be the same occupation. If you have held multiple subclass 482 or 457 visa period 3 year application, sponsor employment can be counted in any occupation that you're approved to work in. So here we go. That people will ask, now, can it be totally two different occupations? Yes, it can, but obviously you cannot be. For example, can you actually be sponsored as a chef and somehow you change to become, within that 3 years, change to become an ICT programmer? It's just not possible. It can be a cook and then you change to chef. That's fine. Okay, that's fine as long as it's being approved. Now it can be for example, a cybersecurity programmer, and then you change to ICT, for example, robotic software programmer. Yes, then that will all be counted together. So we gotta think common sense. Some people asking totally two different streams of occupation. It's just not gonna happen. You cannot be accountant and then suddenly become, for example, barrister, and it's just not gonna work that way. Or you were accountant and become a doctor. It cannot work that way. Within 3 years, you gotta think about this. These different nominated occupation gotta be counted all together within 3 years and count together with total of 2 years of full-time work experiences. So that's basically what that is. Okay. Last but not least, it says if you have changed employer in 3 years prior to your application. Sponsor employment can be counted from the date of approved nomination was lodged if you started working with it before nomination was approved. So again, that's basically saying that can be accrued altogether, and then the bridging visa also can be counted together. So in this video today, I just wanted to clarify that the new policy is there. Your employment, as long as it's being approved under the 482 nominated approved job, it can be all accrued together despite there has been different employer or different nominations. So give you an example, an extreme example. You can work for employer A for 6 months, and then employer B for another 6 months, employer C for another 6 months, and then employer D for another 6 months, all accrued together with 2 years. Then you can lodge a 186 TRT stream. Anyways, if you have more question, query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.